Hello, Ken. Thanks for joining us. My name is Peter Greenlaw. I'm the author of Why Diets Are Failing Us, and we're going to show you the medical proof today why diets aren't working, and we're going to introduce you to 7 new peer-reviewed human trial studies. This is live. It's not pre-recorded. I'm the author and researcher who wrote 4 best-selling books and proved that, diets are failing us. We have 80% of America overweight, 50% are obese, 50% are pre-diabetic. Do any of you really think that diets are working, some form of lowering calories? Let's start out right away with Harvard Medical School in an article entitled Stop Counting Calories. They said, as you can see up there in the headline, the idea of a calorie in, calorie out when it comes to weight loss is not only antiquated, it's just wrong. They said we need a new approach, and that approach is instead of counting the calories, we need to make sure that what's inside the calorie is the most important thing to the human body. And there's your downfall to every single diet out there. Plus, the other huge misnomer about diets, why diets are failing us, is it's a flawed premise. They're telling you the only way to lose weight is to lower calories. Well, number one, the body doesn't know what a calorie is. The body doesn't count calories, doesn't care about calories. What it cares about is nutrition. So more really a clearer definition of what really a diet is, it's some form of lowering the amount of food that you're consuming, okay? And there's various names. So paleo, keto, Mediterranean, this new time-restricted eating where you don't eat for 16 hours, you eat for 8. It's just a form of giving you less food. But when you give yourself less food on any of these diets, the body has no choice. When you drop, see, the body has sort of a, let's call it a horizon of nutrition, okay? So we're going along, as long as we're there, the body's fine. But when you lower the food, you drop below that horizon, it triggers the starvation mode in the body. It stops you from burning fat and immediately begins to convert your muscles into fuel. And in doing that, it's so inefficient. The other thing it does, it slows down your metabolism. And that metabolism is the rate at which you burn calories when you're resting. It's called your basal metabolic rate. But the second thing it does is even more unhealthy. It also inhibits the functionality of your own immune system. So yeah, you're losing weight on any diet. No one's going to argue that. But your diet is doing something. Instead of doing something for you, it's doing something to you. And I have the medical proof here, study after study after study, showing it doesn't matter what the diet is, between 25 and people on diets, 25 to 40% of what they're losing is lean muscle mass. It's not an opinion. It's Journal of American Medical Association, New England Journal of Medicine, Nutrients, Obesity, journal after journal now is saying, yes, you can lose weight on any diet. You can lose weight on the Dunkin' Donut diet. But what kind of weight are you losing, and how unhealthy is it for you to be losing weight that way? Now, you'll notice there I put the New Health Conversation. That's a free medical website. There's nothing to buy there. My books are not for sale there. I don't want you buying my books because we want you to be able to go and see real medical proof of these 7 new peer-reviewed human trial studies where men and women weren't even allowed to exercise, lost as much weight, you ready for this, in 7 days as 8 weeks of any diet. They lost as much weight in 30 days as a year on any diet, lost no water weight, and instead of losing lean muscle, which is the case on every diet we analyzed, we didn't analyze it, the researchers did, to clarify that. They gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass with no exercise. But you know what's strange? The main reason to do this is not to lose weight. That's a given. That's a thing. Because what they also found in 30 days, people's blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, triglycerides, all went down dramatically just in 30 days. Inflammation, the underlying cause of every disease out, went down 25% in 30 days. No one, including these researchers, they're the top nutritional, physiological, supplement, exercise researchers in the world. For 38 years, they've done 150 studies on every diet out there. And essentially what they did was figure out what didn't work. Because after 38 years of really testing about every single diet out there, they just came to the conclusion that the methodology, the method was totally wrong. Now, they didn't know if they could do something different. Could they do anything about it? Because the trend is getting horrible. Here's Johns Hopkins Medical School is projecting that by 2030, in less than 6 years, that 86% of America is going to be obese or overweight. They go on to say, even more troubling, the authors note, by 2048, all American adults will become overweight or obese. So we have more diets than ever. We have all these plans, et cetera, but are they working? Go to Walmart, go to Kmart, go to Costco. Look at America. Look at the world. Do you know in the world right now, they estimate out of 8 billion people, 1 billion are clinically obese? From the study in the Lancet, I'm going to read, they said, making obesity the leading form of malnutrition in the world. What? They go on to say, most people don't understand that being underweight or overweight are both signs of malnutrition, because the people are not getting the right amounts of vitamins, minerals, and the types of calories necessary to keep us healthy. There's your downfall. Our food in this country is becoming more and more and more nutritionally deficient. So what's happening is we're getting hungrier and hungrier, not for more calories, but for more nutrition, okay? I mean, come on. If we have 80% of America overweight, 50% obese, 50% pre-diabetic, do you really believe any of the diets you've been on, you know about, your friends have done, et cetera, are they working? But there's another huge component now that's finally making it out into the major news outlets, and that's the fact of this medical syndrome called TDOS. Stands for toxicity driven by nutritional deficiency, overweight, and stress. It is a registered trademark, U.S. Patent Office. I did happen to discover it, but what you have to understand, a registered trademark is such a big deal because in the medical world, what the patent office does, they take your theory and then they search around the world to find if there's anything else even similar. They won't grant you a registered trademark, because if they grant you that trademark, they're guaranteeing you, they're protecting your intellectual property, but they don't want to cause you to impinge on somebody else's. So I discovered this. And every one of us, me, you, every person on the planet has it. So what we're doing is we drink and breathe and eat chemicals, herbicides, pesticides, Scotchgard, Teflon. We're storing them inside of a very specific fat in your body around your organs. It's called visceral fat. That's what its term is called. The outer layer of fat is called your subcutaneous or adipose, okay? Now, lest you think I'm making any of this stuff up, let's read what the world experts now are saying about these chemicals that we're ingesting, okay? The Endocrine Society, the largest organization of experts devoted to research on hormones and clinical practice of endocrinology, reports the rise in incidence on obesity matches the rise, the use and distribution of industrialized chemicals. They give these chemicals a name. I doubt you've heard of them. They're called obesogens. Listen to what they say. Simply put, obesogens are chemicals that disrupt the function of our hormonal system, leading to weight gain and many of the diseases that curse the American populace. They enter our body from a variety of sources, from natural compounds in soy, artificial hormones in animals, plastic pollutants, chemicals added to processed food, and pesticides sprayed on produce. They act in a variety of ways, mimicking human hormones such as estrogen, blocking the action of other hormones such as testosterone, and essentially reprogram us to gain weight. What are you doing about that? Because no diet up until now has ever proven to remove a gram of toxicity from the body. Heck, when I first started my research back in 2003, there'd never been a study done on a human being if we were storing chemicals in our body. That wasn't done until late 2005 by Mount Sinai Medical School in New York. So now what we're seeing is we didn't even know we were storing them. Now they're seeing the outcomes. Can you imagine? They'll reprogram us to gain weight. What are you doing about that? Paleo, keto, Mediterranean, whatever, okay? But then let's go to another world expert. Listen to what he says. Frederick Saul, curative professor of biological science at the University of Missouri, Columbia, has stated, obesogens are acting by hijacking the regulatory systems that control body weight. The presence of obesogens is the first reason that traditional dieting methods have become outdated. Never before have traditional low-carbohydrate, low-calorie diets been forced to accommodate for this level of synthetic chemicals and the adverse effects they have on the body. The body's attempt to protect itself from the constant assault of synthetic toxins results in the production and storage of fat. That's why people complain to me all the time. It's not just that they're overweight, it's the amount of fat. So why is that important to you? Because in these 7 peer-reviewed human trial studies where they measured blood, urine, stool, and fat analysis, they proved that this protocol, first and foremost, was assisting the body in doing what? Removing these toxins from the body. Herbicides, pesticides, Scotchgard, Teflon, and even plastics, okay? This is the main reason to do it. Now, as a consequence, people lost as much weight in 7 days as 8 weeks of any diet, lost as much weight in 30 days as a year on any diet, lost no water, and instead of losing lean muscle mass, they gained 6 to 9% lean muscle. But here was the other clue. In 8 weeks, people shrank their visceral fat, that's that belly fat, by 33%. Because here's what happens when you ingest chemicals. You breathe, drink, and eat the chemicals, the body takes them. When they stuff them inside the fat cell's like a balloon, it expands. So they had the clinical proof, blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis, and then they were able to, well, they also did the analysis on the visceral fat, showing it shrank by 33% in 8 weeks with no exercise allowed. There's nothing on the planet like this. Look, I know you're skeptical, and I do this all the time. I do 2 to 3 podcasts a day, and I see all the comments, and I'm not debating any of it. You all are entitled to your opinion. But if we look at the reality of 80% overweight, 50% obese, 50% pre-diabetic, what do you think? Well, let me read you another study in here. And they said those people going on a low-calorie or restricted calorie diet, 66 and 2/3 of them gained back more weight than they lost. What? I mean, this is the reality of what we're looking at. I know you go on a diet, you lose weight initially, and then you plateau. You come off the diet, you're gaining everything back. It's not an opinion on my part. That's what's going on. And yet, you know what the other cool thing was about in these medical studies? Not just, and a peer-reviewed human trial study takes a long time, 2 years or more. They've now tracked the people that were in the, started in the studies. They've kept their weight off now for more than 2 years. Look, I lost 40 pounds 21 years ago. I've kept it off for 21 years. Hello? I think it works. Guess what the program's called that these scientists invented? It's called R2M, stands for Race to Maintenance. That's the whole key here, is to get you to your goal and then teach you and show you how to stay there. But the first step is that we want you to go, okay, cinnamon. Yeah, counting calories is completely out. Fern, here's a great question. What I'm going to explain to you next is how they did it, and then you make a decision if you want to continue doing this for the rest of your life. The basic premise, Fern and everybody else on here, was this. I see Gina, I see User, I see Fern. Now remember, what I'm sharing with you is from the medical studies. And by the way, just to show you, the website, there's nothing to buy there. Don't fear, we're not going to contact you, but it's got an interview with the #1 nutritional researcher in the world. It has the medical studies. It has a video explanation in more detail than what I'm going to explain to you now, and before and after pictures that weren't just about weight loss, but A1C and cholesterol and triglycerides, etc. Okay? So what the researchers did was this. After 38 years, 150 studies of every diet, well, can anyone name a diet that's not some form of, forget calories, because the body doesn't, calories in, calories out is nonsense. Even Harvard Medical School said, stop counting calories. The idea of a calorie in, calorie out to lose weight is not only antiquated, it's just wrong. They said what we need to concentrate on is what's in the calorie, not how many we're consuming. Well, that's what the researchers figured out. After 38 years, every diet, people lost weight. But every diet, every time, people lost up to 40% of their lean muscle, slowed their metabolism down, they came off the diet, they gained everything back. Hope you've probably been through that, okay? Now, so what did the researchers, what was their first premise? They said, look, in every diet out there, it was some form of us reducing the amount of food they were consuming, okay? And at the same time, when you lower the amount of food you're consuming, you lower the amount of nutrition. Am I making sense to everyone? So imagine you have this imaginary sort of horizon that at that point, that's enough nutrition to run all the organs in your body. Because that's what your body runs on. It runs on nutrition. It doesn't run on calories. Doesn't even know what a darn calorie is, right? So, but what happens on that diet, when you drop below that horizon and the body figures out there's not enough nutrition, the body freaks out, goes in starvation mode, prevents you from burning fat, and begins to convert your muscles into fuel, which is really inefficient. It then slows down your metabolism, your ability to burn calories, and it interferes with your own immune system. Well, the researchers knew that. So they said, okay, is it possible? Can we reduce the amount of food people consume, but can we meet or pass that minimum amount so the body doesn't go in starvation mode? Remember, this was a theory. They didn't know if this was going to work, but they knew what didn't work. What didn't work was every diet you've ever been on, because they did 150 studies: paleo, keto, Mediterranean fasting, time-restricted eating, the Cornish diet, the zone diet, the lose weight for your blood type, Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, Nutrisystem, whatever. Every time people lost weight, but it was lean muscle, they all ended up gaining all their weight back. So what they did was this. They started with this premise. Okay, before in all the diets, they'd given people obviously 100% of the food from domestic sources in, say, North America, right? So this time they said in this new approach, we're going to only let them have 40% of their food from whether it's Whole Foods or Sprouts or whatever it is, okay? Cool. The other 60%, what they had found there were research companies called fulfillment companies that for the last 25 years had found food sources literally around the world, from as far away as Russia, Mongolia, Manchuria, Tibet and the Himalayas, South America, New Zealand, to do what? To create the world's first perfect meal. Okay, as you know, in a meal, you need, various things like, fats, carbs, proteins, whatever, right? Okay, so what in the world, what are we the most deficient in? Why didn't they just give people 100% of the food from the grocery store? Because our food in the grocery store is becoming more and more nutritionally deficient. I mean, Cornell University did a study on spinach. From 1953 to today, iron levels in spinach, they estimate, have gone down by 4,300%. Oh, that only means one bowl of spinach in 1953 would translate to about 40 bowls of spinach today. So you see what you're up against? Now you're putting yourself on a diet and you're lowering the quantity of food that's already nutritionally deficient. What are the things we're the most deficient in? Number one, what are called trace ionic minerals. You've all heard of iron, calcium, magnesium, okay? But there's 70, according to the experts, we need 70 trace ionic minerals. In the best organic you can buy today, you'll find 20. Well, wait a minute. If they're going to create the world's first perfect meal, they had to go and find a source that had all 70 minerals, not 20, not 30, not 40, all 70. So that was the first food group or part of the meal they were constructing, right? The second thing that they needed were amino acids. Now, you've maybe heard the term. Amino acids have been called the building blocks of life. How do we get an amino acid? There are 20 total, 9 are essential. You have to get them from your diet. The other 11 are non-essential, right? So you've been told, I've seen the influencers telling you, well, protein is a great way to lose weight. We'll show you how to ingest 120 grams of protein a day. So to the average person, that sounds like it's great. Well, in Europe, they blew the myth up about that. They developed a new testing mechanism called net nitrogen utilization. It's a fancy word for when we ingest a protein with all 20 amino acids, the body breaks it open and the body extracts the 20 amino acids, so you think you're good. But in Europe, they measured blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis, and this is what they found. Now, vegans, I don't mean to make you mad. This is the numbers. Plant-based protein maximum absorption was 10% out of 100%. All meat, steak, chicken, liver, fish, the maximum absorption was 30%. Well, the researchers found, they didn't, but they found a source from these other researchers where there was this food had a 91% absorption of amino acids, okay? The third thing they used in the perfect meal was an electrolyte. And in case you don't know what, you've heard that, you know about Gatorade. That's not even in the same category as this. This was basically no sugar, no artificial sweeteners, no anything. And the reason you need an electrolyte is for hydration. Because part of what you're going to learn, what did they physically have them do? They had them doing something called intermittent nutritional fasting. Not fasting, not time restricted eating. We'll get to that in a moment. But I want to tell you why it's important to have the electrolyte as part of the world's first perfect meal. Fourth, they had something called a food that contains something called adaptogens. Adaptogens are essentially substances that massively lower stress in the body, but more importantly, lower inflammation. It was discovered actually by the East Germans and the Russians back in the 60s when they were kicking our butt in track and field because they could lower stress and lower inflammation. An athlete could run a 100-yard dash, and 20 minutes later they could run a 220. So what they do is they lower stress and they lower inflammation. In the you'll see in the medical studies, they lowered inflammation. No other diet. This isn't even a diet. They lowered inflammation in 30 days by 25%. And all of us are plagued by inflammation, whether you know it or not. The fifth thing, this was really cool. They found a source for natural vitamins, not a capsule, a food that contained They said the equivalent would be if you got the right amount, if you got kale and broccoli and spinach and all these things, you need about a half of a pickup truck full to equal the density of the natural vitamins, not synthetic. So if you're taking a supplement right now, it's synthetic for about 80 or 90%, okay? So those are the five, that's what made up the world's most perfect meal. The 70 minerals, the 91% absorption of aminos, the electrolyte, the adaptogens, and these natural vitamins. Okay, now they have the ingredients, okay? But that's less than half the battle. The other thing they did, they created two completely different ways of consuming food. One was called protein pacing. 5 days a week, they had the people do protein pacing. What did they do on a protein pacing day? They started the day with the world's most perfect meal for breakfast. Then they had a lunch from the recommended food list. They had a dinner from the recommended food list. And then they had a fourth meal, not a dessert. Again, the world's most perfect food. Now, why is that important to bookend when they were doing this? Because when you go to sleep every night, in case you didn't know it, once you fall asleep, your body suspends digestion. Your body automatically turns on a natural detox mechanism called autophagy when the body gets rid of the dead cells, etc. But in going through that process, it takes tremendous amounts of nutrition to essentially fuel the engine that allows us to get rid of the dead stuff and the debris, etc. Okay? So that's why they bookended the world's most perfect food on a protein pacing day. Now, 5 days a week they did protein pacing. Again, let me review. One of the best meal in the world for breakfast, a regular lunch, regular grocery store, dinner, regular grocery store, and the fourth meal would be this. Now, keep in mind what you have to understand. All the while, they lowered the quantity of food people were consuming, but they weren't lowering the nutrition. That's what made it work. Then 2 days a week, they did intermittent nutritional fasting for 48 hours. Not fasting, not time-restricted eating. On those days, no food from the grocery store and just the world's most perfect meals 4 times a day, about every 2 to 3 hours, okay? Now, what's the proof? In the medical studies, when the people did the 48 hours, and all through the process, they measured blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis, proving that this protocol was removing herbicides, pesticides, Scotchgard, Teflon, and even plastics from the body. Okay? But that's why and how it works. Now, it's more complicated than that. That's why we offer you the free. Do I have to take this? Okay, do I have to take this? Okay, again, do I have to take this for the rest of my life? So, Fern, let me ask you a question. You have no food that you can put in your body now that would be the world's most perfect meal. It doesn't exist, okay, with your best intentions. When you get to maintenance, you could do, it's up to you. You could do as little as just one of these perfect meals, like for your breakfast, okay? Ideally, you'd want to do a breakfast and a night, but you can do it, again, because obviously you're consuming, and money-wise, it's an awful lot less once you get to maintenance. But I mean, here's the purpose. Your body is still functioning until your last breath. Why in the world would you not want to give your body what you can't get from regular food? That's why people continue. Like for myself, I lost 40 pounds 21 years ago. I've kept it off for 21 years. You think I'd ever stop? But the maintenance is a lot different than the initial program. And one of the reasons we do free personal consultations with people, Fern, is because we don't know anything about you. Do you want to gain weight? Do you want to lose weight? Maybe you've got aches and pain. I don't know, whatever it might be. And we're not treating, diagnosing, curing, making any medical claims. We're just teaching you exactly what they did in these medical peer-reviewed human trial studies. There's no equivalency. That's what I want to tell all of you. There is no equivalency. So you can tell me whatever you want. I do paleo, I do keto, I'm a carnivore. Even carnivore, which I like, is still woefully, where are you going to get the 70 trace minerals? You're not getting them from meat. Where are you going to get the natural vitamins? You're not getting them in meat. So, I mean, again, when we think of a meal, we think of a balanced meal, right? Well, that's what the researchers did. But their balance was based on massive amounts of nutrition, not many calories. Look, for 38 years, they tried to do 150 different studies of lowering, using regular food, well, organic food even, to have people lose weight. They lost weight, but they lost 40% of their lean muscle. Now, why would that be? Let's go back to the 91% absorption of the amino acids. One of the 21 amino acids, or one of the 9 essential amino acids, is called leucine. Really, what's that for? It allows your body to make muscle. That's why bodybuilders, they'll consume like 1 or 2 ounces of protein for every pound they weigh, but they don't understand the strain they're putting on their kidneys. Because in protein, what's not converted into amino acids is a toxin. It's called nitrogen catabolites, urea, creatine, ammonia, and glucose. Again, here's a better way to think about it. Let's assume for a minute that you went today and you bought gas for your car. I'll just make up a number. Let's say it was $3 a gallon, okay? It's probably pretty cheap if it is. And you bought a gallon, and for $3, that gallon took you 20 miles. Fern, this will help maybe answer your question about, do I have to do this the rest of my life? But what if there was another gas station and they were selling gas, I'll make up a number, like $4 a gallon. You pull in there and said, how come you guys are $1 more a gallon than the people down the street? They said, it's real simple. You're going to pay $3 and get a gallon that's going to take you 20 miles. You pay $4 and our gallon of gas will take you 100 miles. That's really what the researchers figured out. That the body didn't give, it wasn't about the quantity, it was about the quality. So to create the world's most perfect meal with your best intentions, if you go to the farmer's market, if you go to Whole Foods, if you go to Trader Joe's, you're still at maybe 40 or 50% of what you need at best. At best. So my point is, if the body knows it needs these to run optimally, why wouldn't you want to do it for the rest of your life? Because it's really, do you know that most people feel once they get, you need to be healthy and eat more. No, you don't need to eat more protein. You totally missed the point. Protein itself, let me blow up your world, is complete poison to our body. Protein is the shell that carries the amino acids. You do not want residue of protein because your kidneys have to get rid of it. So imagine you're having steak, chicken, liver, 30% of it has turned into amino acids, 70% your kidneys have to get rid of. If you've ever, God forbid, had anyone on kidney dialysis, they don't want to have any protein at all because of the toxic waste. So that's a wives' tale. That's what we've been told about eating, Oh boy, here we go again. Some idiot on there loving to just do stuff that's not helpful to anybody, right? So anyway, what are your pins on pegging? I don't even know I'm not sure what pegging is. I'm sorry. It's not. All I know is this, whether it's pegging, begging, whatever the heck it is, unless you can show me a peer-reviewed human trial study, it's interesting conversation, but that's it. And I can say that because for 21 years, I've been a nutritional researcher. For 20 of those years, despite, and I'm not telling you to impress upon you, for 20 of those years, okay, I've written 4 best-selling books with some of the top medical doctors in the world. I've worked with the top oncologists, molecular biologists, geneticists, top nutritional researchers in the world, okay? And for 20 years, all of that meant zero in the medical world until about 15 months ago when these 7 peer-reviewed human trial studies came out. Everything changed. We're getting doctors every day that are on my podcast, and they're blown away. Because when you have peer-reviewed human trial studies, they're irrefutable. They've already been reviewed by the top medical doctors and researchers in the entire world. That's what peer review means. And isn't it ironic that none of these other diets, supplements, whether it's pegging, I'm not saying it's bad, I don't know, but I would doubt that it has a peer-reviewed human trial study. And if it doesn't, it's interesting, but it's not effective in the medical world, And like I said, for 20 years, I know what that was like. We had unbelievable before and after pictures. We had great stories. Means nothing in the medical world. For example, no drug ever gets approved without a peer-reviewed human trial study. And we know sometimes they make mistakes. But at least we have a certain scientific, guideline. Otherwise, do you want the pharmaceutical companies just to put out drugs without them being in human trials that take a long time? This is a really big deal. This isn't some infomercial. I mean, you don't have to listen to me. I don't want you to listen to me. I don't want you to believe me. But if you believe and understand what a peer-reviewed human trial is, then you can go and see the medical proof. Tracy J., you're tired of what? Listening to me? Summarize. Men and women lost as much weight in 7 days as 8 weeks of any diet. They lost as much weight in 30 days as a year on any diet and lost no water and gained 6 to 9% in muscle mass. What the researchers who've done the research are the top weight loss researchers in the world. They looked at 150 diets over 38 years, and they developed this theoretical approach, which now has been proven in these medical trials. That's the main thing. And if you want to really see the evidence, I'm going to show you the website you can go to. It's free to go there. There's nothing to buy. The only thing there is the medical proof, including number 2 is a video explanation of exactly what they did if you're in a hurry. The research studies are there, and also the before and after pictures, which aren't about losing weight as much as they were the medical trials. Hopefully that was fast enough. All I can tell you is irrefutable medical proof. It's really possible. Most women lose a whole dress size in the first 7 days. There's nothing like this on the planet. So I'm sorry that you're tired or, you've had a long day. I get it. But again, this is not some lotion potion pill. This is not about 3 recipes to lose weight. With 80% of America overweight and 50% obese and 50% pre-diabetic, do you want a 1-minute explanation of how you could change the rest of your life? Look, I lost 40 pounds 21 years ago. I've kept it off for 21 years. Most men and women, to be honest with you, they'll lose as much weight in 4 days as in a month of dieting. How much would that excite you when you stand on the scale on the 5th morning and you think your scale's broken? But again, I don't want people to believe me. Go and see the free medical proof at that website. Hold on. Let's see. Tracy, go to the website. It's all there. Okay, so hold on. No, so much reading and learning about it doesn't help. Tracy, it's all videos. There's nothing to read. There's an interview with the #1 nutritional researcher in the world. Just watch the video. You don't have to read it. But again, otherwise, Tracy, do what everybody else is doing. 80% of Americans overweight, 50% are obese, 50% are pre-diabetic. How's that working? It's not. It's not going to work. So there's no diet out there based on what? Based on medical proof. All these diets fail in the long run. They do. You'll lose weight initially. You could do the Coca-Cola diet and lose weight, but it's unhealthy. It's the most unhealthy way to lose weight that there is lowering calories. Harvard Medical School, stop counting calories. The idea of a calorie in, calorie out is not only antiquated, it's just wrong. This is Harvard Medical School, not my opinion, saying what we need to do is put the emphasis on what's in the calorie, not how many calories we're consuming. That's all I can tell you, Tracy. It's not, that website is designed to be user-friendly, okay? Everything's broken down. But there's an interview with not me, the #1 nutritional researcher in the world for 38 years, the #1 person in the world saying he and his team will never recommend any traditional form of diet ever again because these new studies blow diets away. I mean, you can obviously do whatever you want to do, Okay, so. No, actually, what you don't understand, bees for honey. Leucine is one of the 20 amino acids. It's one of the 9 essential amino acids, okay? No, you misunderstood. Protein carries all 20 amino acids, including the lysine, the leucine. Sorry, you got me screwed up now. Leucine, not lysine, leucine. I'm thinking of Listerol or whatever, cleaning supply. No, completely different. That's one of the parts of creating the world's most perfect meal, right? So, any rate, you got that, bees, honey? Okay, great. But that's why we offer you free Callie Choi. Didn't you you should have gotten contacted by Dan today. As far as I know, I followed up as I promised you that I would. I didn't realize that was you. So we need to lower cortisol to lose weight. No, you don't. No, look, bees, do yourself a favor. Go to the website, listen to the explanation from the world's #1 leading nutritional researcher, and he'll explain to you why they'll never recommend any form of traditional diet again. You're trying to figure this out. It's like nothing you've ever done, heard of before. No one's ever produced 7 peer-reviewed human trial studies where men and women lost a whole dress size in a week. They lost as much weight in 4 days as a month, lost as much weight in a week as 8 weeks of dieting, lost as much weight in a month as in a year of any diet without the loss of water and without the loss of lean muscle mass, and also lowered blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, triglycerides, and inflammation in 30 days. There's no diet like that. It doesn't exist. And they've all been studied, okay? So, no, but here's the cool thing, bees to honey. Part of the world's most perfect meal does what? Lowers cholesterol, lowers cortisol, okay? But you need these elements, okay, that you're not going to get from regular food. I don't care what you do. You can go to Whole Foods today, buy all the organic you want. It doesn't contain these researchers figured out what was missing. And then but they don't sell anything. They have no agenda. They're just scientists doing this in that particular context, if that makes sense, okay? Okay, Beezy, you get it. That's why we set up the free website for everybody to go to. I don't want you to believe me, okay? What am I doing? Need to healthy, eat more protein. So I'm not sure what the comment because of DNA. I don't know what that even means, but if you can clarify, I'm happy to answer your question. So let's review. So the basis of all this started back in 2010, 14 years ago, when I wrote this book, Why Diets Are Failing Us. A lot of critics back then. Why? Because I was making the statement that counting calories was ridiculous because the human body didn't know what a calorie was, which is true. Well, now I've been backed up by people like Harvard, not because of me. My theories have been backed up by independent. I don't know anybody at Harvard Medical School. I don't know anybody at the Journal of the American Medical Association, okay? I mean, here's the point. You can believe whatever you want to believe. And if you're too busy or too skeptical to go to the website, I support that. That's cool. But the point is, do you really think in 3 months, you're going to weigh less than you do now? In 6 months, you're going to weigh less than you do now? Do you think with overwhelming evidence where they've looked at pretty much every diet scheme out there, that in the long run, every person gained back all their weight? I read to you from that one article saying that people that go on low calorie or calorie restricted diets, 66 and 2/3 of them gain back more weight than they lost. Gain back more weight than they lost. Harvard Medical School, stop counting calories. The idea of a calorie in, calorie out when it comes to weight loss is it's not just antiquated, it's just wrong. That's pretty good evidence. Plus, the website, it's free to go. I'm going to show you the website again, everybody. You'll see. There's nothing to buy there. But you need to be able to access real medical proof. Otherwise, it's an opinion. Otherwise, we'd show you number 4. We'd just show you the before and after pictures. There's a reason the before and after pictures look the way they do, and the medical results these people experience is crazy, off the charts. Okay? So anyway, let's see, any other comments? So does anyone else have any other questions or comments? I'll review it one more time. What we're talking about is not a diet. It's a revolutionary new approach to health. Weight loss certainly is part of it. Now, you would think the biggest thing for you exciting-wise is weight loss, because men and women with no exercise, they really did lose as much weight in 7 days as 8 weeks of any diet. They lost as much weight in 30 days as a year on any diet. And instead of losing water weight, which they didn't, they gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass. It wasn't a diet. The researchers who for 38 years had done 150 studies, thousands of people on every diet you've ever heard of, they came up with this protocol. That was a theory a few years ago. And then they proved, and then had the proof in these big medical journals who gave them authenticity that you can't make up, right? So the point is that you're in a position now where the weight loss is almost a joke, because you're going to lose weight about 12 times faster than any diet. You're going to lose no lean muscle or water, but you're going to have more energy. Look, hunger went down 41% in 30 days. 41%. You're going to end up eating less food than you've probably ever eaten before. But it was never about the quantity of food that we needed. It was about the amount of nutrition. The researchers found these food, they didn't find them, but they found about them, these food sources from around the world that had tremendous amounts of nutrition, not tremendous amounts of calories. See, that's the Achilles heel on every diet. You're relying on regular food from our, domestic food sources. It's so nutritionally lacking that when you reduce the quantity of the food you're consuming, you put your body into starvation mode, forcing it to use your muscles for fuel, and then slowing down your metabolism, your ability to burn calories. And then it also interferes with your own immune system. Do you think it's a coincidence that 80% of Americans are overweight, 50% are obese, and 50% are pre-diabetic? My gosh, go on social media, look at all the influencers. What are they all telling you at the end of the day? The only way to lose weight is to lower calories. Completely debunked now. Nonsense. They never tell you that Harvard Medical School just saying stop counting calories. Calories in, calories out is not only antiquated, it's just wrong. You want to, and here's what I would say with all due respect to any of these people you're following, men or women, medical doctors, chiropractors, dietitians, nutritionists, fitness gurus, weight loss coaches, etc. What are they all telling you? Lower calories to lose weight. But have they ever showed you one shred of medical evidence that actually works in the long run? Because there's no medical evidence to support that. There's never been a study done showing that lowering calories works long term. Never. Not one study. Is that a clue or not? And I want to make it available to all of you. You can go and see the free knowledge and then make a decision. Then you can sign up for a free consultation, free. Why? Because we don't know anything about you. What if you want to gain weight? What if you want to lose weight? What if you've got some medical challenges, for example? We have kids as young as 2 doing parts of this, and people 90. We have a guy with a heart transplant, and we're not curing, treating, diagnosing, preventing any diseases. Don't hear me say that. That's wrong. That's not true. But obviously, I think, is there anyone that wouldn't be excited as if they could lose as much weight in a week as 8 weeks of any diet? They could lose as much weight in a month as a year of any diet, lose no water, and gain 6 to 9% lean muscle mass. By the way, none of the people in the studies were allowed to exercise. No exercise allowed, because they didn't want exercise to be an outlier. Not that they're against exercise, because these researchers have also worked with Navy SEALs and Green Berets and NFL football players and CrossFit people and marathoners and triathletes, etc. Because even if you're an athlete, you need fuel. See, when someone, Fern, I think it was, said, do I have to do this the rest of my life? Well, let me ask you a question. Are you going to eat for the rest of your life? And I'm not trying to be a smart aleck, but think about it. What the researchers created was the world's most perfect meals. But 100% of the time, people weren't consuming just what the researchers had figured out and put together. 40% of their food, 40% of the time, or 40% of the food, they were consuming food from local, from Whole Foods or Trader Joe's or organic or whatever. But you got to understand, when you have peer-reviewed human trial studies, they're irrefutable. They've already been scrutinized by the top medical doctors and scientific researchers in the world. The researchers who did the research, they submit their studies to these big publications. And those publications, if they decide to publish it, so it's not a given. It's not like, hey, they got to see, is it credible? Then something like the Obesity Journal or Nutrition Journal or Frontiers of Nutrition, or in this case, the, went out of my head, Nutrients, and then what's the other one? Nature Communications, the #1 medical journal in the world. They decide if they're going to publish your work. They send it out to other world-class experts. The journal itself doesn't review, other than to say is it's worthy to get reviewed, what's called peer review, by the top medical doctors and researchers in the world. They only have one job. They're paid to do one thing: discredit what you're trying to prove. They're not your friends. That's why I see no supplements on TV. And whether it's any of these diet programs, none of them have ever on their own initiated a peer-reviewed human trial study. You hear them say, oh, we did a scientific study. Interesting, doesn't mean a thing in the medical world. We did a clinical study. Was it on human? Oh, no, it was on rats and mice. It doesn't mean a thing in the medical world. It's interesting, but no drug's going to get approved with a study done on mice and rats. Sorry, that's the way it works. And we need those safeguards. We need those protections. But can anybody put in the chat how in the world could, excuse me, could we have 80% of America overweight, 50% obese, 50% pre-diabetic if diets work? And then you got Johns Hopkins Medical School saying that well, right now it's 80% overweight, 50% obese, okay? In 2018, it was 42% obese. So in 6 years, it's gone from 42% to 50%. It's like a 24% increase in 6 years. But Johns Hopkins Medical School is projecting that by 2030, in less than 6 years from now, that 86% of Americans are going to be obese or overweight. So do you think it's working? My gosh, go to Barnes & Noble. Look at how many diet titles there are. And people want to come on and they want to argue with me about what? There's nothing to argue about. When you have peer-reviewed human trial studies that have been reviewed by the top people in the world, not me, I have nothing to do with that. We're just bringing you the evidence, and then do what you want. But if you like what you see on that website, you can sign up for a free consultation with one of our coaches who's done the protocol and coached hundreds of people. They coach you for free. And on the part I didn't even tell everybody. So the world's most perfect meal, which includes the 70 trace minerals, the 91% absorption of aminos, the electrolyte, the adaptogens, and the natural vitamins. The first 30 days because only 60% of what you're going to eat, you're going to buy from those fulfillment companies. They offer you 100% money back guarantee, no questions asked. They'll even pay return shipping. How do you do that? How do you do that? Which diet out there is offering you that? I mean, you're settling for a less than lifestyle because you don't really know what else to do. I'm not being critical. I didn't know either, okay? I had belief and faith for more than 20 years because 20 years ago I lost 40 pounds in 7 weeks. But I had some real medical issues. And this is my story. I'm not making any medical claims. This is just what happened to me. When I first got the bad news that my cholesterol was 400, my triglycerides were 300, my doctor at my yearly physical said that if you don't do something radically different, you have an 85% chance within 18 months of having a heart attack. I went, what? So he put me on diet, exercise, and statin. And after 8 weeks, I lost 8 pounds, but my cholesterol only came down 15 pounds. He couldn't give me any more. He told me, I can't give you any more. Okay, so now what do? Give up? Raise the white flag? Well, thank goodness. A friend of mine who played professional football for the Oakland Raiders turned me on to this early stages. It's evolved way more over the last 21 years. I went on and lost 8 pounds in 4 days, 12 pounds in 9 days, 20 pounds in 18 days, 30 pounds in 30 days, 40 pounds in 7 weeks. The next week was an 8-week follow-up with my doctor. This time I drew blood, so then 2 days later, I'm going to get the results. He throws my chart down and says, Peter, you're trying to kill yourself. I said, what are you talking about? He said, well, the lab's made a mistake. I said, how so? He said, well, your cholesterol's gone from 400 to 120, your triglycerides have gone from 300 to 30, you've lost 40 pounds, and your heart attack risk has dropped from 85 to 15. I said, you're not retesting me. I believe I'm here today because of this. It's not a diet. I mean, you can form whatever opinions you want, but opinions don't mean anything in the medical world. I'm sorry, they don't. And I'm not saying some of you, maybe you've lost 50 pounds or 100 pounds or 80 pounds or whatever, but I will guarantee you, based on medical proof, that up to 40% of what you lost is lean muscle, and the chances of you keeping that weight off, well, they're saying 66 and 2/3 of people that go on diets lower in calories gain back more weight than they lost. That's not my opinion, right? Who's telling you this? Who is sharing this kind of knowledge with all of you, with all of us? I'm the researcher of the researchers. Let's be clear. It's not my research, but we're bringing it to you for free. And then if you like you have a free consultation. You'll get a free coach if you do it. And the first month is 100% money back guarantee on 60% of the food you're going to buy, because the other 40% you're buying it from the grocery store. What more can we do than that? What more would you like us to do than that? I mean, I don't know. All I know is we keep getting these desperation stories. We have a woman right now, I think she's maybe late 50s or something. She's been on this protocol, not this, but she's spent, I believe since January, she spent somewhere around $12,000 or $14,000. And since January, she weighs 300 pounds. She's lost 16 pounds in 8 months. But the bad news now, she's plateaued. So we'll see what happens. But I think she's starting maybe tomorrow or the next day. I don't know. One of the coaches was just telling me about it. The biggest thing we're fighting, I agree, is skepticism. And I support you in that. But you can look before you leap. If you go to the website, you can see the medical proof. Now, if that's not enough for you, that's cool. Because if you go to our website, we're not contacting you. Let's be clear. We will not contact you. And I showed you the website. I'm going to show you again. There's nothing to buy there. It's just the medical proof. There's 4 modules. One is an interview with the #1 nutritional researcher in the world. 2, there's a video explanation in greater detail about what they did. The actual medical studies. And number 4, the before and after pictures, not just about weight loss, but blood pressure, blood sugar, A1C, cholesterol, triglycerides, etc. So isn't that kind of fair to all of you? And again, the other thing you should be more concerned about is not getting in your skinny. What are you doing about the TDOS syndrome? What are you doing about removing chemicals from your body? Because if you're going on a diet, you're doing nothing about removing chemicals from your body. Does that make sense? So I think, let's see, is the approach. Susan, there's also a vegetarian protocol, right? Well, bees, you can do whatever you want, but you understand what you're talking about. There's no medical proof behind whatever you're trying to do. This is the only medically proven protocol in the world. But because again, even if you do ashwagandha, which you're very astute, that's one of the adaptogens, okay? But where are you getting the 70 trace minerals? Where are you getting a 91% absorption of amino acids? You're not. So it's not harmful what you're talking about, but it's not going to be effective, okay? Because again, that wouldn't represent the world's most perfect meals, okay? I have not been contacted. Will it be email, phone, text? Callie, to be quite honest, I talked to Dan today. He said he emailed you and he even called and left you a phone message today. I'm really sorry. I remember you from the other day. Very important. You reached out to me, and then I reached out to him. I talked to him maybe 2 hours ago about this, so I'm baffled. Check your voicemail, check your email. It would come from, let's see, let me see if I can, what's his, I think it's Maes is his last name, D. Mays, that's what the email would have been from. But I'm telling you, I take this really seriously. Because we don't know. Every person that contacts us really has a real need, or they wouldn't even be contacting us. So, but I swear to you, I promise, I followed up on it. I talked to him earlier today, etc. So if for any reason you don't, you can't. I mean, it should be in your voicemail, or it should be in your email, or in your your email as well. So I know that, like I said, I talked to him maybe 2 hours ago, specifically about you. So if for any reason that's not the case, then I guess reach out to me again. And I don't know, I guess he's one of my top people. He has a life-changing experience that he went through. He's one of my most highly sought after coaches. So, but that's not acceptable if you haven't been contacted. I don't know what's going on. Okay. Like I said, email and phone for sure. Of course, Callie. I mean, again, for all of you, don't think this is some sales gimmick for us. We're talking about making a major contribution to people's what? Quality of life potential, right? And look, I know there's more of you looking for us than we're looking for you. We can only do so much. That's why we've created, for example, we created the website for you to not be hassled. We're not going to contact you, but all the medical proof is there. So you're not wasting your time, right? So if you go there and like what you see then and only then, like Callie's saying, she did reach out to us twice. I followed up. I don't know what's going on as far as our coaches are very, very diligent. They've all done the protocol. They've all had life-changing experiences, or they wouldn't be coaches. So hopefully we'll take care of her protocol. Yes, Susan, for sure. But Susan, that's also another reason to do a personal consultation. Because again, not sure if what your need would be. Do you want to gain weight, lose weight? Do you have any medical challenges? Et cetera, et cetera. But they can accommodate you either way, that's for sure. Okay? So we have there's 2 or 3 different protocols that they use. But if you go and look at the medical proof, I think you'll be pretty stunned at what they really did do for people. Okay? Let's see here. What's your opinion? Again, I'm not sure what pegging is. If you want to put it in the chat, I'm happy. I don't know how I'd comment on it because I don't know what it is. So maybe you can let me know what it is. But again, I wonder if. Well, again, I answered that question for you, Sonic Doom. So, Susan, okay, great. Well, the main thing is, please, I'm going to put it in there for you again. Go to the website, and then you can sign up for a free consultation and put in your notes, for example, so the coach will know that you're interested in the plant-based version, okay? Let's see. So you can see it right there under your name, the New Health Conversation, no spaces. You go there, scroll down to the bottom of the first page, Susan, it'll say, sign up for a free personal consultation, no gimmicks, no tricks, etc. Okay? I see Sharon, user, Edgar, Romero. Do any of you have any other questions for me? Or any of the other people over here? Let me see if I can scroll up. New Health Conversation, Jesse Pinkman. Have you ever been drawn? What? Jesse, what kind of, what is that? How can I eat healthy foods? I lost all my weight thanks to the math. Me and Mr. Oh, God. Jesse, I've actually talked to you on the phone if it's the real Jesse Pinkman, which it's not. So, again, sorry, buddy, we just have to get rid of nonsense because that's just nonsense. Yeah, I did love Breaking Bad, of course. But yeah, so don't fool me. You're not Jesse Pinkman. I actually know him. Okay. Let's see. Oh, wow. I need to eat. No, Sonic Doom, the people in the studies were not allowed to exercise. And yet they gained 6 to 9% lean muscle. Now, they're not against exercise. But in the studies, they didn't allow anybody to exercise because it would have been an outlier. Again, that's just a myth. We know, for example, that diet and exercise is not a strategy to lose weight unless you're able to give yourself enough nutrition. It's just a given. I mean, we only deal in science. We don't give you opinions, okay? Jesse Pinkman was doing pegging. Okay, there we go. Now it's making sense. I don't know. People have too much time on their hands or something, I don't know why they waste their time wanting to take me on. Because essentially what they're taking on are the top medical doctors and scientists in the world who reviewed, that's what peer review means, these medical studies. Again, for the new people coming on, we're talking about why diets are failing us and these new medical studies that are basically going to obsolete every diet you've ever been on. We got people like Harvard Medical School say, stop counting calories. The idea of a calorie in, calorie out when it comes to weight loss is not only antiquated, it's just wrong. They say that we need to concentrate on what's in the calorie, not how many calories we're consuming. I wrote this book in 2010. That was my main premise. Instead of counting calories, we need to make every calorie count because the human body doesn't know what a calorie is. It's just a measurement. We've all been fooled, Oh, we're counting calories. Really? You're counting calories. What about your body? It's going, what's a calorie? But when you ask your body about nutrition, that's a whole different discussion. I mean, I'm obviously making that up. But seriously, if you don't take care of your body, where are you going to live? Do you think we're now in a world where good enough will ever be good enough again after what we've been through in the last 4 or 5 years with the immune system issues and with what we were facing and what we're still facing? That hasn't gone away. But the new variable is this, the TDOS syndrome, which me and you and every person in the world has. Toxicity driven by nutritional deficiency, overweight, and stress. We're storing chemicals inside our body. It's not up for debate. I mean, that's what's going on. And the world experts are saying that. The Endocrine Society, largest organization of experts devoted to research on hormones and the clinical practice of endocrinology, reports the rise in incidence and obesity matches the rise in the use and distribution of industrialized chemicals. What are you doing about that? Oh, they have a name, by the way. They call them obesogens. And they say, simply put, obesogens are chemicals that disrupt the function of our hormonal system, leading to weight gain and many of the diseases that curse the American populace. They enter our body from a variety of sources, from plastics in food, from chemicals added to processed food, and pesticides. They act in a variety of ways, mimicking human hormones, such as estrogen. So many women are complaining about hormonal issues, okay? Blocking the action of other hormones, such as testosterone. You know how many men have low testosterone, okay? And in some cases, altering the function of our genes and essentially reprogram us to gain weight. What are you doing about obesogens? Do you know they did a study, I think 1990 until today, that the sperm count for men in North America has decreased by 50%? 50% in that time frame. What's that, 44 years? 45 years, sorry. No, 44 years, you're right. I added that wrong. I'm sorry, it's been a long day. 34 years study. But they're telling us what's going on. These chemicals are doing things to us, and you're just storing them in your body. You're going to go on paleo or keto or Mediterranean. It has no impact on toxins at all. The main reason to do this is to assist your own body in removing the chemicals. Look, in the medical studies, they did blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis and proved that this was assisting the body in removing herbicides, pesticides, Scotchgard, Teflon, and chemicals from our body. That's the reason to do it. Well, the bonus is weight loss in a month that took a year on any diet. Well, it makes sense. They're saying right here that these chemicals are reprogram us to gain weight. So you're going on a diet that has no idea, no chance of dealing with this? See, I just think this creates an amazing opportunity for all of us to live our best possible life, maximize our quality of life potential. The body is capable of detoxifying us. It happens every night when you go to sleep, as long as you don't eat too late. And the reason you don't want to eat too late, the body, in order for you to detox, has to slow down digestion. When it slows down digestion, it automatically turns on the mechanism. It has a name, they call it autophagy. It's really getting rid of the dead cells and the debris over the course of the day. But while you're sleeping, it takes tremendous amounts of fuel to run that. And that's why something like time-restricted eating, where you stop eating like at 8 o'clock at night and then you don't eat until noon the next day, well, when you wake up in the morning, you're completely bankrupt of nutrition. What does your body do? Goes and breaks your muscles down. Look, here's this is the Journal of the American Medical Association on time-restricted eating. A new study just came out. 3 months, they said this. The people that participated in time-restricted eating in their 3-month study gained almost no benefit from it. They lost an average of 2 to 3.5 pounds in 3 months. And the majority of what they lost was not fat, but lean muscle mass. See, I don't have to make things up. The evidence is overwhelming. And I don't fault the people telling you that time-restricted eating is, this great thing. The medical evidence is contrary to all of that. But it's the same whether it's paleo, keto, Mediterranean, lose weight for your blood. Every one of those diets, you're going to lose some weight, but you're going to gain it all back. So what's the point? Why did you even do it in the first place? And again, like I said, what are you doing to remove the chemicals? That's your main thing. You see it now in the national media. What are they talking about? Nutritional deficiency and toxins. I got the U.S. Patent Office to give me a registered trademark for this medical condition that I discovered. I'm not bragging. It's just, that's it. But you're storing these chemicals in your body. I just read to you from these world-class experts saying that. What are you doing about it? Burying your head in the sand isn't going to help you. It isn't. And they've already said, my God, they're reprogramming us to gain weight, and they're interfering with the function of hormones in women, estrogen, and men, testosterone. Isn't that enough of a whoa? Or not? So let's see. Misty Bain. Okay. How do we fix it? Well, that's what the medical researchers did. Sorry, they were nutritional and physiological researchers. So, Misty, I'll go as fast as I can, okay? Because it's very complicated, but I'll explain the simple version. So these researchers for 38 years have done 150 studies on every diet out there, Misty, okay? And what they concluded was it didn't matter what the diet was, people always lost weight. But every time, every diet, when they did blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis, they realized that on every diet, the weight that was being lost was incredibly unhealthy. It was lean muscle mass. And two horrible things happen to you when you lose lean muscle mass. Number one, the body doesn't have a choice. It slows down your metabolism. So now you come off the diet, you can't burn as many calories. Look, the people in The Biggest Loser, they just did a follow-up study like 3 years ago. Those people lost like 150 pounds. You know, they gained all their weight back and more, and they estimate those people's metabolism has been slowed down by 30%. So even though they went back to sort of eating normally, they can't burn as many calories. They gained all their weight back. Sad. They killed themselves. If you watch that show, they were working on like 14 hours a day and on like 600 calories. I don't even want to comment on how disastrous that is. Disastrous. But there's no diet out there that even has brought the attention that we're storing chemicals inside of us. So what did the researchers do? How'd they figure this out? They said, okay, we knew that after 38 years, that lowering the quantity of food meant lowering the nutrition. We had to solve this problem. It was a theory. So they said, wait a minute, can we lower the quantity of food, but somehow maintain or exceed the amount of nutrition the body needs? See, the body needs a minimum amount of nutrition to run the brain, kidney, liver, heart, etc. Okay? When you go on a diet, all you're doing is lowering the quantity of your food, you're lowering the nutrition. And our food in this country is already becoming nutritionally almost bankrupt. They estimate an orange from 30 years ago. Today, you'd have to eat about 6 oranges. An apple, you'd have to eat about a dozen apples. And a bowl of spinach from 1953, according to Cornell University, iron levels have decreased in that time frame by 4,300%, meaning a bowl of spinach in 1953, today, you'd need to eat about 40 bowls of spinach. So now imagine you're going on a diet where our food, even if you're trying, is still nutritionally bankrupt. Now you lower the quantity. What do you trigger in the body? The starvation mode. So the researchers, what they did was this. They said, okay, how can we solve this? Because in every diet they'd ever done, they used 100% of the food from domestic sources, right? Organic primarily. So they limited the amount of food people consumed to 40% from the grocery store, Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, organic, didn't matter. But the other 60%, what they really did, here's the best way to explain it to you, Misty. They created the world's most perfect meals, okay? They started with the basic premise, what are we the most bankrupt in this country in our food? Not bankrupt, but deficient, I was looking for the word. The first thing are what are called trace ionic minerals. You've heard of iron, calcium, magnesium, but we need things like gold and silver and zinc, arsenic, believe it or not, molybdenum, boron, and tiny amounts of arsenic, let's be clear, okay? And the best organic you can buy today, Misty, if you go down to Whole Foods, you're going to get 15 to 20 minerals out of 70. Well, so one of the first things they did, they found researchers over the last 25 years had found a food source that had all 70 minerals. So that was, imagine a plate. We're making the world's most perfect meal. You know, when you make a meal, it's fats, carbs, the whole thing. Okay, so now they get the minerals. The second thing they did, which was critically important, because listen, Misty, men and women weren't allowed to exercise. They lost as much weight in 30 days as a year on any diet and gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass. Most women lost a whole dress size in 7 days. Now, why did that occur? Because the way you make muscle in your body is with one of the 20 amino acids that we need, that we get from protein. There are nine amino acids that are called essential. You have to get them from your diet. And one of those is called leucine. That's how the body makes lean muscle in conjunction with, some exercise. But if you exercise and don't have enough leucine, you're not going to make any muscle. Okay? So let's get that out of the way. So the key was, in Europe about 8-9 years ago, they developed a test when you ingest a protein from a plant or an animal, you get all 20 amino acids. And you'll hear these, I see them on social media telling you, well, have 120 grams of protein a day to lose weight. You think you're getting 120 grams of protein. You're not. That's a nonsense. Because in Europe, through blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis, when you ingest protein, they measured what percentage of the 20 amino acids were actually being used by the body. Shockingly, vegan proteins were 10% out of 100. Animal proteins, steak, chicken, liver, fish, were 30%. The researchers, they found again, researchers that had found a protein source where the absorption of the amino acids was 91%. So now you're starting to build the meal. You've got the 70 trace minerals. You have a 91% absorption of amino acids. The third thing they found was a very specialized electrolyte, not Gatorade or Powerade or any of that stuff loaded with sugar. And the reason that's important is because hydration is really important to the body, especially when you're going through a protocol like this. I'll come to that. So we have the 70 trace minerals, we have 91% absorption of aminos, and we have the electrolyte. Fourth, they used or found a food source that contains what are called adaptogens. Adaptogens were used by the Russians and East Germans in the 60s, kicking our butt in track and field. What do adaptogens do? They lower stress and inflammation in our body, okay? And if you didn't know it or not, stress in particular is definitely not a friend for trying to lose weight, okay? So by using that, people were able to reduce not just their stress levels, but also inflammation. In the medical proof, in the studies where they measured inflammation, it went down 25% in 30 days. No diet has ever even touched that, okay? So again, let's review what's on the plate so far. You've got the 70 trace ionic minerals, you have the 91% absorption of aminos, you have the electrolyte, and now you have the adaptogens. The last thing, they found a food source with massive amounts of natural vitamins, not a supplement. If you're taking supplements right now, 80 or 90% of you, if it's a pill, it's synthetic. And there's so many people now that have the MTHFR gene, you don't want to be taking synthetic vitamins. So now the meal was complete. 70 minerals, 91% absorption of aminos, the electrolyte, the adaptogens, and these naturally occurring vitamins. So now we have the ingredients, but we don't have the recipe yet. What was the recipe? They created two new ways of consuming food. The first one's called protein pacing. What did they do on a protein pacing day? 5 days a week they did protein pacing, by the way, just so you know. They started each morning with the world's most perfect food. That was breakfast. Lunch came from the grocery store, from a grocery list you would get. Dinner came from the same grocery list. But the other thing that was so unique about this, they had a fourth meal after dinner, not dessert, of the world's most perfect meal. The reason that's so critical is when we go to sleep at night, the body needs tremendous amounts of fuel, nutrition. So by fueling that, by doing that, the body is even more efficient in what's called autophagy. It's getting rid of the dead cells, okay? Now, 2 days a week, and this is why you need the electrolyte, they did something called intermittent nutritional fasting, not time-restricted eating, nothing like that, for 48 hours. On those days, no food from the grocery store, and just 4 times a day, the world's most perfect meals. That's what they did. That's why it worked. Now, on the website, which I'm going to show to you again for all of you, there's nothing there to buy. All that's there is the medical proof, including step number 2 is a much more detailed video explanation. You can see the various foods and what they did in the studies. There's the actual medical studies right there for you to see, and then the before and after pictures, which are not just about the weight loss, but about the medical improvement, okay? You have to understand they have 7 peer-reviewed human trial studies proving this. Now, the most recent study in what's called Nature Communications, the #1 medical journal in the world, they analyzed our gut, what's called our gut microbiome. It's our immune system that resides in our gut. Now, I know a little bit about it because I wrote the definitive book, one of the first ones about the microbiome with the #1 oncologist in the world, who's also a molecular biologist. You'll notice the title, Your Third Brain, because this microbiome, your gut, is really the second brain is in the lining of your stomach, not in the stomach itself, but in the lining. And this third brain is it's called the microbiome that's spread really throughout your body, in your skin, your hair, your tear ducts, etc. But they proved in Nature Communications study that people just in 30 days saw massive improvement in the function at what's called the biodiversity and the diversity of the bacteria and the good stuff that was in the digestive tract. And at 8 weeks, you can read it right in the study. People had incredible gastrointestinal problems, Woo! I'm not going to talk about it. I'll get in trouble if I do. Read, but again, this is Nature Communications, the #1 medical journal in the world, proving what they claimed. There's nothing like this on the planet. I mean, does anyone want to show me in the comments any of your diets that have one shred of medical evidence? They don't. And I'm not even trying to be disparaging. As a researcher, I'm just presenting the evidence for you to do what? Make a decision. What decision would you make? Do you want to do a free personal consultation with one of our coaches? It's totally free. If you did decide to do the protocol called R2M, stands for race to maintenance, then that person interviewing will be your coach. No kidding. And remember, the world's first perfect meal, the minerals, the amino acids, the electrolyte, the adaptogens, and the natural vitamins. That's about 60% of what you probably are spending now in your food budget. But they offer, the people that supplied to the medical trials, they offer you 100% money back guarantee in the first 30 days. What? What risk do you have? I'll tell you your risk. Your skepticism is holding you back. You don't believe it's true. Well, if you know anything about peer-reviewed human trial studies, I promise you go to that website, your jaw will hit the floor. You've never seen anything like this. In particular, let me clarify here. On the first module, that's a podcast with the #1 nutritional researcher physiologist in the world for 38 years who did 150, he and his teams have done 150 studies on every diet. They're the ones that created this, invented this. They don't sell anything. They have no dog in this hunt. They're scientists. They were for 38 years, they've been chasing, as they said, chasing the silver bullet for weight loss. And they said now they found it and they have the medical proof to back it up. I know it sounds too good. Well, my voice has been too long. I did a 5.5-hour podcast yesterday, and I think I've been on today for 3 or 4 hours, so I apologize. And my voice is a little squeaky, but what can I say? I can't help it, okay? No, protein pacing has nothing. You do not want let's be clear, okay? Bug, man, G-money. You do not want anything to do with a calorie deficit. What you want to avoid is, because again, here's the thing, calories don't mean anything. The body doesn't know what a calorie, why are you counting calories? Someone told you to. What we're talking about is a nutritional deficit. That's what you cause on any diet. Proven. It's not up for debate. I mean, here's Harvard Medical School. Stop counting calories. The idea of a calorie in, calorie out when it comes to weight loss is not only antiquated, it's just wrong. They go on to say what we need to do is concentrate on what's in the calorie, not how many calories we're creating. So calorie deficit out the window, gone, obsolete, and wrong. Harvard Medical School. That's good enough for me. It doesn't work. Do you understand? Calorie reduction? No. Because you've got to protect this minimum amount of nutrition we need, or the body goes in starvation mode, prevents you from burning fat, turns to your muscles for fuel. That's why we've got 80% of Americans overweight and 50% are obese. You think diets are working? It's crazy. And then John Hopkins comes out and says that by 2030, 86% of Americans are going to be obese or overweight, and we keep doing what? Calorie deficit approaches. Can anybody put in the chat for me a diet that's not, and you've got to understand what makes me nuts. The human body doesn't know what a calorie is. It's just a measurement. It's the amount of heat it takes to raise a gram of water 1 degree Celsius. But what the body knows is nutrition. That's what we have to guard against. That's what they did. They created the world's most perfect meals, not the world's most perfect calories. Had nothing to do with calories. It had to do with nutrition. I mean, like I said, please do yourself a favor and go to the website and look at the medical proof. Wait till you see this interview with the #1 nutritional researcher in the world. You know what he's saying after 38 years? They'll never recommend a traditional diet, calorie reduction, calorie deficit ever again. Because they said, what we're going to put our patients on, it takes them 8 weeks to lose unhealthy weight loss on any diet we've ever studied. We're in our studies now with what we discovered. Men and women lost as much weight in 7 days as 8 weeks of any diet. They lost as much weight in a month as a year on any diet. And instead of, on every diet they ever studied, what did people lose? Lean muscle mass, slowing down their metabolism. They came off the diet, they gained all their weight back. These people in the studies, it's been more than 2 years now since they started these studies. They've kept the weight off now for 2 or 3 years. I know one guy's lost 150 pounds. He's kept it off now for more than 2 years. That's the whole key to this whole thing. It's called R2M. That's what they call it. Race to maintenance. I mean, is that not cool? But I don't want you to believe me. Seriously, I'm the researcher of the researcher. Our job was to bring you a safe place where you could go and see the medical proof. And if you go to that website, we will not contact you. I promise you we won't. We're way too busy. I mean, I did a podcast yesterday, had nearly 20,000 people on it. So we don't have any shortage of people that are interested in the, of course, that was over the course of, I think it was 4 or 5 hours, whatever it was, but still that's pretty encouraging. And our job is to just let you see the proof, and then you decide what you want to do. You can sign up for a free consultation or not. We're not holding anything back. I see some of these influencers, they want you to buy their $50 or $60 program before they'll tell you how you're supposedly going to lose the weight without a shred of medical evidence, okay? So anyway. Bug managing money, what are you talking about? Absolutely does. Calorie deficit. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. When every single study on calorie deficit shows that the people gain, well, right here, this is a study, 66 and 2/3 of people that go on calorie deficit gain back more weight than they lost. You can have whatever opinion you want, then do it. But also, what's that diet? What's that diet doing for this? Well, what's it doing for removing the chemicals you're storing in your body? Calorie deficit has nothing to do with that. It's just, again, it's not my job to try and convince you. If you don't believe in the peer-reviewed human trial studies, because the human trial studies on calorie reduction prove one thing: they don't work in the long run. Okay? I mean, these research, they did 150 studies on calorie reduction diets. Every time that people gain back all their weight, how much should they have done? 500 studies? At what point would you be convinced that calorie reduction doesn't work? And the only thing you're losing on a calorie reduction diet is your lean muscle mass. Period. End of the story. Not up for debate. So, Julio, okay, what are the world's most perfect foods? I'll go through it real quickly. Number one, you need what are called 70 trace ionic minerals, okay? In the best organic, you're getting 10 to 15, 15 to 20, sorry. What are trace ionic minerals? They're things like gold and silver and zinc and beryllium and boron and molybdenum, okay? So that was one of the first foods. It had all 70 minerals, starting one. Number two, they found a source of amino acids in protein. See, this is a big misnomer. People think they're ingesting 120 grams of protein and somehow they're getting 120 grams of protein. They're not. Protein is a poison to our body, believe it or not. They're called nitrogen catabolites, urea, creatine, ammonia, and glucose, and what you're not converting into amino acids, the kidneys have to get rid of. The researchers found that, like steak, chicken, liver, fish, etc., the absorption of the aminos is only 30%. Well, they found a source where the absorption, a food source, where the absorption is 91%, a 600% increase. So now you got 70 minerals, you have 91% of the amino acids that you need. Number three, there was an electrolyte, which helps to hydrate the body, but not like Gatorade or Powerade or anything like that, way beyond that, okay? Fourth, they used food sources that had something in it called adaptogens. Adaptogens come from Manchuria and Mongolia, were used by the Germans and the East Germans and the Russians, who kicked our butt in track back in the 60s. Well, what does an adaptogen do? It lowers stress and inflammation in the body. Again, in the studies, they proved this lowered inflammation by 25%. No diet, no calorie reduction has ever shown anything even close to that, okay? And then the last thing, they found a source with pure natural vitamins, not synthetic. If you're taking a supplement today from a health food store with all good intentions, it's synthetic and you don't want synthetic. So now, what was the perfect meal? 70 minerals, 91% absorption of aminos, the electrolyte, the adaptogens, and these natural source vitamins, okay? Then they had people do 5 days a week what's called protein pacing. On a protein pacing day, they had this world's most perfect meal for breakfast. They had a regular lunch. They got a grocery list that they could take to the grocery store, but only 40% of the food they were consuming came from the grocery store. Then they had a dinner from the grocery store, and then a fourth meal after dinner, not dessert, another one of the world's most perfect meals. That was the protein pacing day. Then 2 days a week, they did intermittent nutritional fasting. On those days, no food from the grocery store, just the world's most perfect foods 4 times a day. And men and women lost as much weight in 7 days as 8 weeks of any diet, calorie reduction, paleo, keto, whatever, not even in the same zip code. And in a month, they lost as much weight as all these calorie reduction diets in a year. And they lost it in a month, lost no water, and gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass. No calorie. Well, let's go to Harvard Medical School. A 12-month study on one group of people lowered calories, this calorie in, calorie out nonsense, okay? The other group did something called time-restricted eating, which maybe you're familiar with. You don't eat for 16 hours. You eat for 8, cold word, you're consuming less food. In 12 months, the people that did a calorie reduction diet in a year lost 16 pounds. The people who did time-restricted eating lost 12.6 pounds in a year. And right in the study, it says both the people doing calorie reduction diets and those doing time-restricted eating lost up to 40% of their lean muscle mass. There's the downside. Look, here's the thing. I don't mean to argue with people. I'm not arguing that you can lose weight on any diet by lowering, but you've got to understand this nonsense about counting calories. The body doesn't know what a calorie is. Only thing the body cares about is nutrition. But the point is, we have medical proof that on every diet, when they lower the amount of food they're consuming because our food's so nutritionally bankrupt, they're using their muscles for fuel. That's not my opinion. I'm not giving you opinions. If you want opinion, there's plenty of resources for you on social media. But how could we have 80% of America overweight and 50% obese and 50% pre-diabetic if diets work? So anyway, I hope, Julio, I hope I answered your question for you. Okay, I'm going to put it up here one last time, everyone. You can go, if you want, you can go to, hold on. I don't know why it's not posting. Okay, there we go. So Julio, it's right there. You can see the new health conversation, no spaces, okay? And, in Bug Man Money, I wish you luck. Good luck. But all I'm telling you is that the medical proof is overwhelming that calorie reduction is one of the most unhealthy things you could ever do, because because it's not calories, it's nutrition. That's what, look, there's 7 peer-reviewed human trial studies proving exactly what I'm talking about. But this isn't the only study on calorie reduction in the New England Journal of Medicine. Journal of the American Medical Association, nutrients, obesity, nutrition. They've all done studies on calorie reduction diets every time. Listen, the Mediterranean diet has been the #1 diet 7 years in a row by U.S. News and World Report. In a 8-month study, people lost 10.2 pounds. And again, 40% of what they lost was lean muscle mass. I mean, I don't know, maybe you think I'm making things up I'm not. I don't have to. That's the great thing about science. It doesn't have, unlike me, it has no emotions. It doesn't have any judgment. It just is. The facts are the facts. The facts are that calorie reduction diets cause you to lose lean muscle mass and people gain back all their weight. I mean, I'll talk about the shots, GLP-1. There's this 68-week study, New England Journal of Medicine, on semaglutide. I'm not against the shots. Be clear. It's helping diabetics. It's helping people that are overweight. But in 68 weeks, in the New England Journal of Medicine study, people lost in 68 weeks 32 pounds. But right in the study, it said that 40% of what they lost of the 32 pounds was lean muscle mass. What's a GLP-1? It's a calorie reduction diet. It slows down. I mean, it's not really calories that you're slowing down. It's nutrition. And when the body doesn't have enough nutrition, but they proved it. They lost 40% of their lean muscle. Come on. Anyway, it's all interesting. Wow, I can't believe I've already been on for an hour and a half. So let's see what else. Thank you. Why is this not out? Why is this not out there? I mean, the pyramid is so off then, they don't want us to be sick. Look, Julio, the researchers who did this are the #1 nutritional, diet, and physiology researchers and exercise in the entire world. 38 years, they've done 150 studies of every diet out there. Okay? They've been looking for the silver bullet for obesity. Well, but also for health, right? So you've got to understand that they were willing to risk their reputations to create this protocol from scratch. They didn't know it was going to work, okay? But the principles were pretty simple. That after 150 analysis of every kind of diet, which at the end of the day is some form of lowering calories. That's every diet they studied. Can anybody put in the chat a diet that's not calorie deficit, okay? Not trying to argue, just let me know if you have one. So, Julio, what they knew was the only way that they could get people, let's say, to lose weight was, yeah, we lowered the quantity of what people consumed, but we couldn't lower the nutrition. So the first principle was, is that even possible? Well, in doing their research, they had found what are called fulfillment companies, basically pioneering researchers in nutrition. And these pioneers had literally physically gone, not the people who did the studies, but the researchers around the world, physically gone to Russia, Mongolia, Manchuria, to Tibet and the Himalayas, literally to the side of the Himalayas, South America, New Zealand, to find these food sources that weren't tainted by herbicides or pesticides. I mean, look, we're creating tremendous amounts of food in this country, but what are we creating? Tremendous amounts of calories, not tremendous amounts of nutrition. So they knew, because on every other diet they put people on, they had them, even do organic food for the United States, and every time people lost lean muscle mass and gained all their weight back, okay? So what they did to create the world's perfect meal, it had to include what we're not getting enough of in the food that's available to us on a daily, weekly basis, right? So that's when they knew what we were short of. They knew that we didn't have 70 trace minerals. They knew that protein absorption from steak, chicken, liver, fish was 30%, and my gosh, from plants, it's only 10%. So part of what they did was to identify what was missing. And then they went and then they thought, can we find it? Well, they found the researchers who'd done it. So they found 70, a source with 70 trace minerals, 91% absorption of aminos, the electrolyte, the adaptogens, and these natural vitamins. This natural vitamins, huge deal. We got 40-50% of people have the MTHFR gene, and you can't take a synthetic. It has to do with vitamin B. If you have that gene, it causes havoc in your body. This is such a major breakthrough, I can't even begin to tell you. But these peer-reviewed human trial studies, they started a few years ago. And what happens when you submit it to one of these big medical journals, in this case, like Nature Communications, the #1 medical journal in the world, they decide if they're going to publish it, they don't review your work. They send it out to other world-class experts, medical doctors, and researchers who have one job, to discredit what you're proving. That's why this is such a big deal. That's why we've provided for you. I'm going to show to everybody one more time before I close out. There's the website. It's free to go there, the New Health Conversation. And those are videos. An interview with that #1 nutritional researcher in the world who headed up the teams that made these that created this. Because it was, okay, part was what they were going to consume. 40% from the grocery store, and these world's perfect food, because it wouldn't work if you did 100% from the grocery store. They'd done that for 38 years. Hopefully I'm making sense. The main reason to do this is not to lose weight. That's a given. I mean, they lost weight 12 times faster than any diet, no loss of water, and they gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass. But the biggest reason to do it is to combat this medical syndrome that you and me and every person in the world has, called TDOS, toxicity driven by nutritional deficiency, exactly what we're talking about, being overweight and stress. Well, in the studies, they did blood, stool, urine, fat analysis and proved that this was removing herbicides and pesticides and Scotchgard and Teflon and even plastics from the body. No diet, no calorie diet. I mean, it's just not even, it's not the same thing. Because the main reason to do this is not to lose weight, and yet weight loss is the thing that probably excites most people. Because how excited do you think women get when they lose a whole dress size in 7 days with no exercise? Or lose as much weight in a month as a year on any diet? You'll see the proof if you go there, okay? So I just want to encourage all of you to Maximus Freeman. Walking is really good, but exercise is not a strategy to lose weight long term. Because again, what are you doing about the fuel that your body needs? When you're walking, it creates more of a demand on your body for not calories, but nutrition. We recommend if people want to do any form of exercise. In the studies, they didn't let them exercise because they didn't want it to be an outlier, not because they're against exercise. So walking is wonderful. 100% in agreement, okay? So let's see. Anybody else want to put any one last chat in the comment section? Let me put the website up there one last time for you all to go to if you want or not, I guess. There it is. You'll see it. The New Health Conversation, no spaces, okay? I hope you'll go there for your benefit. I hope you'll go and really look at the medical research. And then, like it says, you can sign up for a free consultation with one of our coaches, not somebody at 800 number that's reading off a checklist. No. Somebody that's done it and been trained to help you to go through this. And like I said, the foods to create the world's most perfect meal, no food from your local grocery store, those suppliers who supplied those foods to the researchers, they offer you 100% money back guarantee. So what's your risk? I guess your risk is you're so skeptical you don't even go and take a look, and that's okay. We're not here to convince you. We're not here to twist your arm. We're here to give you medical proof, okay? So I hope everyone will have a wonderful rest of their evening, and I hope you will go to the New Health Conversation and sign up for a free consultation if you want, okay? So I know I've got people in Australia. I know I've got people all over the world. It's nighttime, daytime, whatever. Because I get comments from all over the world. So anyway, everyone have a wonderful rest of your day. To Julio, to Maximus, to Morris, Nadiphone, Becky's, Skills, and whatever. Sorry, I didn't mean to mispronounce your name. I hope you'll go there, take a look for yourself. It's free, and I think you'll be pretty shocked when you see what's possible. So I bid all of you adieu.